Good morning, everyone. I'm Chuck Keller, and Doug Rago is also on here. We have handpicked you specifically to be part of this um, session this morning with Shon Kokoskza, who's our coach. And we did that either because we know you, we've done a transaction with you, or we get your emails about things about your business, or we know the kind of production you do. And we know that you're a great agent. We want to get to know you better. And so we coached with Shon, and we just thought this would be really great to share with you some of the tips from him. You know, Shon has sold over 4,000 homes, which in his market is over $1 billion, but in our market in the LA area, that would probably be 4 or 5 billion, just in comparison. And he's the founder of several successful companies, mortgage, title, land development, also a home builder. And also some of you may know him as the former president of Keller Williams Maps Coaching. Very well-known name there, that company. And he also consults and coaches with some of the highest producing agents in the country and around the world. And I know some of them personally, and they are very high producing agents that still coach at a high level. And he's also consulted for companies like McDonald's, Panasonic, FedEx, T-Mobile, Sports Clips, and Green Tech, GMC, Pepsi, Fidelity. I mean, the list goes on and on. So we're just very fortunate to have him this morning, just share some things about building a team and what you don't want to do wrong, what you want to do right. And let's just welcome him. And Shon, you take it away.
Oh, Chuck, so kind of you and Doug to put this together. It's my pleasure to just add value to y'all today. Seriously, I just want you to just suspend any judgment. We're going to get into some high-level team building concepts today. I think the subject line that I suggested for you guys to invite your friends to was building a team, you're doing it wrong. See, I've consulted with so many top producers, so many people who have built teams, and yet the challenge is the team is not profitable, or the team leader is just completely beside themselves. They hate their life, they hate their business, they've given up their personal life, and they're married to this business. When I think of this, I think of a gal named Kelly that I coach up in Dallas-Fort Worth. Now, I met her at the beginning of 2017. So it goes back a few years, obviously, yet I was doing a mastermind session for Fidelity National Title Group, and they pulled in like 60 really high performers, and Kelly was the top of the food chain there. Now, she came in 15 minutes before I was going to kick this thing off, and she walks up to me just like totally on purpose. She's the type of person that you can just tell she's driven, she's motivated, and nothing's going to stop her from succeeding, right? So she comes in, she walks up to me kind of abruptly, puts her hand out, gives me like this white knuckle kind of a handshake, and she says, "Shon, I can't be here for the next 4 hours. Just give me the cliff notes real quick." I said, "Kelly, that's awesome. Yet tell me about yourself, Kelly." And I got to know her a little bit. I learned that Kelly in 2016 had closed out at 172 million in total sales volume. I learned that she had 16 agents on her team that were somewhat productive. She had 4 support staff, so 20 people on her team. I also learned that Kelly was completely miserable with her life, with her business. She was investing 75 to 80 hours a week. She had an 8-year-old son. She missed all of his soccer practices and many of his games due to the urgent matters of real estate. And she was looking for a way out. She was looking for a better way. And I just implored her. I said, "Kelly, please do whatever it takes. Cancel everything you've got going on today. I want you to take a seat. I want you to take some solid notes and pay attention." See, Kelly's issue was span of control. All 20 people on her team were looking to her for leadership and management advice. She was working herself to death. She hadn't taken a vacation for over 3 years. I mean, seriously, hadn't taken a day off for over 3 years, and she was completely miserable. So she took my advice. She sat down. She canceled what she had going on that morning, and she took great notes. And immediately after, she engaged me as her coach. Now, here's the thing. She was dealing with span of control issues. Now, span of control is a military term, meaning the number of people that you can effectively manage that can effectively report to you. And the military will tell you that that's 3 to 5 people. That's it. And once you get beyond 5 people, then you give your life away. So what we did is we started restructuring her organization. It took us about 3 months to restructure. We got her down from 20 key direct reports down to 4. Now in 2017, remember in 2016, she closed out at 172 million in total sales volume. We got her down to 4 key direct reports. She took 3 week-long vacations and didn't babysit her phone the whole time. got her down to about 50 hours per week invested. Yet in 2017, they closed out at over 240 million in total sales volume. See, it's not about working harder. It's about working smarter. And Earl Nightingale said that we're paid in direct proportion to the value that we provide. And yet she was focused on providing the wrong value. She was still in production herself. She's managing the agents that are in production. She's managing all the support staff, dealing with all the marketing, all the customer service issues, the customer complaints. I mean, she was just down in the weeds, man. And rather, we needed to elevate her. See, she was a bit of a control freak. Chuck, Doug, Christopher, can you guys relate to that at all, at any level?
Oh, yeah.
To be a control freak. I mean, this person is entrusting you with the largest investment of their life, and you've got to just dot all the I's yourself and cross all the T's. And you got to babysit this and hold their hand through the entire process. She was a bit of a control freak. And what I helped her with in terms of mindset is to recognize in business, you don't need to be a control freak. What you need are controls. So it's about models, systems, technology, and then people to help make that happen. Now, I want to start off today. I want to share my screen. If you could give me permission to do so, that would be fantastic. I want to share a quote with you that I think might help you understand why I'm sharing the quote. So here we go. Still not letting me do it, guys. Here we go. Thank you. All right, so here's the quote. If you don't create and stay true to your own vision, you become part of somebody else's. See, so many times we get into real estate, we start finding traction and we start hiring agents and administrative support out of pain, and we don't necessarily have a vision. Maybe you have a short-term vision, meaning what do I want to accomplish by the end of 2023? And you're crystal clear around that in terms of number of transaction, gross commission income, net income after all expenses. Maybe you've got all of that nailed down, your sales volume and everything else. On the other hand, do you know where you want your business to be in 10 years' time? Do you know what you want that to look like? So I'd encourage you to identify what is that vision. When I do this in a seminar kind of a format, I tell everybody, do me a favor, take your left arm, extend it all the way to the left. And your left hand represents, well, here's where I'm at today. Now take your right arm, extend it all the way to the right. Your right hand represents, well, here's where I want to be someday. Now the shortest distance between any 2 points is what? What do you guys think?
Straight line. Straight
line. And yet, do people live their life in a straight line? Now, what they do is they make the next logical decision, the next decision, the next, and they just kind of bounce around the center here, never accomplishing the someday vision, unfortunately. So gain clarity around that. I want you to think about, what do I want my team to look like in 10 years? How many agents will be on the team? How many markets will I be servicing? Am I going to get into expansion? Am I going to start my own brokerage? Am I going to align with a different brokerage that allows me to build a brokerage inside of the brokerage without all the headache and the hassle? What is that going to look like? And I want you to nail down all of the benchmarks of success. What is your yardstick of success? What do you choose to track your metrics around? Is it your stock portfolio, your real estate holdings, your net worth? What do you want all of that to look like in 10 years' time? How many transactions? How many agents on your team? GCI, sales volume, all of that. And then begin reverse engineering it. So if I want to be here in 10 years, where do I have to be in the next 5 years to be on track to accomplish those 10-year benchmarks? And what are the benchmarks associated with your 5-year vision, which are based in your 10-year vision? I trust this is making sense. And based on the 5-year benchmarks, where do you need to be in 3 years to be on track to hit the 5-year and the someday vision? Then where are you at in 3 years? Where must you be in the next 12 months? What are those benchmarks? And that's where we're going to build your annual business plan around. Based on the 12-month benchmarks, where do you need to be in 6 months to be on track to hit the 12-month, the 3-year, the 5-year, and someday vision? Based on the 6-month, where do you need to be in 3 months, this quarter? Based on the quarter, where do you need to be this month or this week or even today or right now? What is the logical step along that straight line to the accomplishment of your someday vision? See, this will enable you to eliminate all of the distractions. So many shiny objects in real estate sales these days. You can truly ask yourself the question, if I did that, would it enable me to accomplish, or would it get me closer rather to the someday vision, or is it simply a distraction? And we have this vision, then we can truly navigate building a true business in real estate sales. So there's three phases of business development. I want to walk you through this. The first phase is the I do it phase. And we all start there. I'm doing it alone. I'm a solo practitioner. I'm doing everything. The 80% work, the 20% work, it's all up to me. Then we start finding some traction. We learn how to generate some leads. And then we make the segue into the we do it phase. We begin applying leverage, if we're smart, to ultimately step over the line to the they do it phase. And at this point, at the they do it phase, that's when you really own a business in real estate sales. And until then, let's face it, you don't own a business. You own a job with a lot of headache, hassle, and responsibility. Chuck, Doug, would you guys agree with that? Talk to me.
Absolutely. Definitely.
Definitely. See,
Yeah, sure.
what we want to do is we want to make the segue from being beholden to others to having them be beholden to us. And it all starts with a big vision. Now, once you get to that 12-month benchmark, then it's about an annual business plan. So you've heard it said so many different ways. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. We've all heard that. So the methodology that we leverage here at Icon Coaching, I call it the ETA. Now, traditionally, that stands for expectation, targets, and estimated time of arrival, traditionally, right? Yet in my methodology, it stands for expectation, targets, and actions. And yet, just like the estimated time of arrival, it will give you turn-by-turn directions and show you how to get to where you want to be and when you're going to be there. It's also going to help you find massive clarity in your actions. And clarity is the goal. See, in absence of clarity, there's complexity. And complexity, well, it's the enemy of clarity. And if you have mist in your mind, it becomes the fog within your organization, your team, your production, and ultimately your bank account balance. So the ETA, it looks like this. It's really simple. It is a one-page, simple business plan where you outline your expectation. Now, expectation to me is merely a better word for the word goal. Now, follow me on this, you guys. See, I believe the word goal is overused, especially in our industry. And when I personally set a goal, it almost creates uncertainty rather than certainty. I think, man, it's a goal. It's heavy. I probably won't achieve that, but I'm going to give it my best shot, right? So it opens the door of doubt in my mind that it may not happen. So I prefer to set expectations because words create energy and emotion. When I set an expectation, that means that I expect it to happen. Now, targets are interim expectations that are measurable, yet they're not grounded in a singular activity or action. Many things must happen for a target to be accomplished. Then we're going to outline 3 to 5 actions. Under each target position, we're going to assign who's going to do it. That's the leverage question. And by when must it be accomplished? Is this an ongoing task, like a daily task? Is this something that's done the first Thursday of every month? Is it done once a week? Is it done once a quarter? But by when will it be accomplished? Now, let me show you as it relates to team development. And we're talking about team development today. We would start with a CEO ETA. And let's just use an example. I want to close 100 transactions in 2023. Now, that's the high-level expectation. Target number 1, and remember, targets are interim expectations that are measurable. They're just not grounded in a single action. For example, of the 100 transactions, I want to close 60 listings. See, many things must happen for you to close 60 listings. So we're going to outline 3 to 5 actions under that target. Target 2, I want to close 40 buyers. Target 3, well, that's the leverage target. That's model, systems, technology, tools, team, all of that stuff. Now you can see the by who column off to the right. See, I've identified Bill. He's a talented listing agent. He's got a high conversion rate. So I'm going to give target number 1 to Bill. Jane is great working with buyers. I'm going to give her target number 2. And John is my operations manager, and he's going to take target number 3. So then I'm going to outline a few actions for each of them. So Bill, based on his current conversion rate, he's got to get 75 listing appointments to take and close 60 listings. He's going to enhance his lead follow-up plan. He's going to tell us tools, model, systems. Same thing with Jane. And these are just placeholders, guys. I've built thousands of ETAs with my clients. Not a single one of them looks exactly or identical to another because it's completely customizable. Now let's set this aside just for a moment. Now this is the overarching ETA or global business plan for your organization. Now let's talk about Bill. He's the department head over the listing division. So we're going to assign target number 1 to Bill. And yet, as we do that, the target we assign to him becomes his expectation for his personal ETA. The 3 actions we assign to Bill become his 3 target positions. So it's kind of like top down at first, right? Yet it becomes bottom up and you meet in the middle because Bill is going to then articulate the actions that he's going to take to get 75 listing appointments. He's going to outline the actions associated with his lead follow-up plan for that seller prospect that he identifies who says, yeah, I want to sell, yet I'm not going to do it for probably 18 months, maybe 2 years. How's he going to follow up with them and earn their business? What does that plan need to look like? Then what are the tools, models, systems, technology, people that he needs in order to accomplish his targets and expectation? I'll do the same thing with Jane, same thing with John. In our example, you'd end up with 4 different business plans that are in total alignment with one another. This helps us eliminate what we call siloing in business development. I was consulting for a company called Highlight up in Syracuse, New York. Now, really glamorous company. They do airport runway maintenance, okay? Now they're open on like 7 different continents, over 4,000 employees. And this was their big annual conference. They pull in all their department heads and higher level executives. And we jump into a 2.5-day workshop that I facilitated. Now, each one of them built out their specific business plans. Yet at the end, I recognized that while they were all rock solid at business plans, they were not in alignment with the organization's vision. So there was siloing that was occurring where this department didn't know what that department was doing. And the leader, quite frankly, had to look at each one of them and their individual business plans because they were not in alignment with what his vision was. So on the flight home, this is where I discovered this methodology of connecting the ETAs together. I was so fired up that right when I landed, I called the CEO of the organization. I said, we need to schedule some time. We need to do it now. And I walked him through this methodology. We restructured everything. And man, I got to tell you, there was a profound impact on the communication within the organization. The siloing went away. Now, I often ask business leaders, people building teams in real estate, does your organizational chart, does it match your expectation/goal? They say, well, I hope so. I mean, how do you know, right? So when you do it right from the beginning, you're going to eliminate a lot of brain damage, okay? Now, let's talk about hierarchy org charts. Now, the typical hierarchy org chart would, in that top circle, it has CEO, founder, chairman of the board, or something like that, right? President, whatever. Rather, let's take the E from the ETA, the expectation, and let's agree that that is you in your organization. You represent the expectation. In our example here, you'd have 3 target positions or 3 key direct reports, not 20 like Kelly. You'd have 3 direct reports. It's your target 1 position. That's your lead listings specialist. Target 2, your lead buyer agent. Target 3 is your operations manager. Now, hear me on this. The best part about their job is what? What do you think, Chuck, Doug, Christopher? What is the best part about their job? Let me tell you.
Well, delegation.
Yeah. Well, the best part about their job, and you're right on track, Chuck, is that it's their job. You get my point?
Mm-hmm.
You can never take it back from them. And if they try to give it back to you, that just is the telltale sign they're not the right talent for the role. These 3 individuals must act like owners. Their job is to take everything they can off of your plate and expand their division. And as a direct result, what they're going to do is they're going to go out and expand that division on their own. They're going to go out and hire the right people to grow the production of each respective division. Now, this is a model where it's a specialist model where we got buyer's agents, we got listing agents. You can build a team like that. Or you don't need a lead listing agent, a lead buyer agent. You have a director of sales who manages all the agents that can take listings and buyers. And quite frankly, after COVID and the lack of inventory in the market, if you want a specialist organization, that makes sense. Yet if you told me I could join your team today and I could only work buyers with the lack of inventory, I'd probably tell you thank you, yet no thank you. Yet if you told me I could work buyers and listings, well, then I'm a lot more interested. So in our example, it outlines the specialist model. I don't know that I love that model, not in today's market. The benefit of that model, though, is it's mastery. And that's the benefit, meaning time on task over time tracks with mastery more than anything else. In fact, time on task over time will eventually beat just pure talent every time. And Malcolm Gladwell tells us it takes 10,000 hours to master anything. So if somebody's only working buyers and they're investing all of their time into that, they're going to reach that level of mastery a lot faster than an agent who's trying to be the jack of all trades. So that's the only real benefit of the specialist model. The other model where they can do buyers listings, well, quite frankly, it eliminates the barrier to entry. It's easier to grow a team that way. Now, I want to share this word with you, success. And what is your definition of the word? I want you to think about that. What is your definition of this word? Like if you were to describe this to a teenager, how would you describe the definition? And by the way, if you asked 1,000 people their definition of this word, you'd probably end up with around 1,000 different definitions. Is that fair?
Yes.
So I went to Webster's dictionary. I just looked up the word. I thought if I understood the definition that I too could be successful. And the definition is really simple. It's getting what you want. At the end of the day, it's about getting what you want. So I don't care if you want to close 2 transactions a year, 20 transactions a year, 5,000 transactions a year. As long as you're getting what you want, you're a massive success in my eyes. Like when I think of this definition, I think of my best friend, I think of my wife. And her number one mission in life is to, number one, be the best wife in the world. Number 2, be the best mother in the world to our 3 beautiful kids. Now, here's the thing. My kids would look her dead in the eye and say, you're the best mother on the face of this planet. I would look at her and say, you're the best wife on the face of this planet. So to me, she's getting what she wants. She's the most successful person I know. It's not all about money. There's no doubt about that. Yeah, money's good for the good it can do, and we can do a lot of good things with a lot of money. So money is a decision that we all make every day. To be financially wealthy is a decision that you make every day. And again, it's good for the good it can do. So it's not all about money. It's about getting what you want. I want to share with you the iconic organizational structure right now. And you might look at this and say, Shon, I don't want that. And that's okay, because you can be a success at any level of the evolution and development of this org chart. So let's go through just a couple of first steps. See, the CEO or team leader of the organization, when they're smart, they recognize that the highest and best use of their time is not in the transaction management. So 2 distinct categories. There's 80% work, and then there's 20% work. So 80% work is all the things that need to be done, yet they don't necessarily move the needle for your production, your bank account balance, or net worth. The 20% work is the dollar productive work. And there's just 5 things on that 20% job description. It's practice, lead generation, lead follow-up, going on appointments, and negotiating contracts. Just 5 things. And yet the smart people are going to learn how to leverage off the 80% work so they can give an inordinate amount of their time to the 20% work. Now I'm talking about the 80-20 rule, right? Pareto's principle. Pareto's an Italian economist. He's studying the economics of Italy, and he recognized that 80% of the wealth was controlled by just 20% of the population. And he looked at real estate, 80% of the land controlled by just 20% of the people. And if you pay attention, guys, the 80-20 rule to me is as true as the law of gravity. I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to recognize that if you go up to a top of a building and jump off the top, which way are you going, up or down? I mean, 80-20 rule works all the time. So how it applies to real estate. 20% of your database will give you at least 80% of your referrals. 20% of the transactions you close this year are going to provide 80% of your revenue. 20% of your sphere of influence are going to send you 80% of your referrals. I mean, there's the 80-20 rule, it applies. So our goal when we start building a team is to leverage off the 80% work and give most of our time to the 20% work. So transaction management is where it starts. Now, you can start slow. You can outsource transaction management to a firm that charges anywhere from $300 to $500 per transaction. Is a predicated fee, so you don't pay it until the deal closes, which is great. Yet the challenge with that is that the only thing they're going to do for you is transaction coordination. They're just going to push paper. That's it. They're not going to help you with your next customer appreciation event or your next marketing strategy or idea or direct mail piece or setting up your ringless voicemail campaign or sending out a broadcast text. They're just not going to do that. However, they will take the transaction management off of your plate. So once you can get to in your market area, a minimum of one transaction a month, it makes sense to hire somebody in, even if it's part-time. Because if they're doing one transaction a month, they're probably going to invest on average about 30 minutes a day into transaction coordination. And then the other 3.5 hours per day, if they're part-time, they can help you with your marketing, your different strategies, even recruiting and hiring that next agent to join your team. You guys with me on this? And by the way, let me pause. Chuck, Doug, do you have any questions so far?
No, I think it's really good. Doug,
No,
you?
no, this is fantastic.
Right on. So moving on, after you've hired your transaction coordinator, then many agents, they recognize, I don't really like working the buyer side of the fence. Buyers are problematic. And let's face it, they can be a pain in the ass. There's no doubt about that. In fact, it takes about 5 times as much time to close a buyer than it does a listing. So a lot of people say, well, I really don't want to work the buy side of the fence. I want to focus all my time, energy in listing lead generation and going on listing appointments. Those are the smart people, right? Now, I'll digress. When I started in real estate, I was just 20 years old. My mother, Shon Kokoskza, and I, we started a real estate sales team together at Remax. Now, she was much smarter than I was. She said, Shon, I'm going to work the listing side of the business, and you're going to work the buyer side of the business. I said, man, I'm all in. Let's go, right? I didn't realize I was getting myself into yet. The challenge with most agents, and this is the mistake I want you to pay attention to, is they say, okay, I don't want to work the buyer side. I only want to work the listing side. So they find an agent who has got a great personality, a real estate license, and they're like, I like you. I think you'd be really good at that. You're going to work the buyers. I'm going to work the listings. And here's maybe a couple of things you should know now. Go out there and conquer the world. And sadly, that person fails miserably. The agent starts spending money to generate leads for this agent because they feel somewhat beholden to them to provide them with leads and an income. So they start investing money, and that money just burns, guys, because the person is not proficient at lead conversion. They just don't know their head from their feet at this point, right? So rather, I would encourage you, don't hire a buyer agent, not right out of the gate. Unless this person has significant experience, I would hire them as a showing partner / ISA. Now, for those of you who don't know, ISA stands for Inside Sales Associate. They're going to focus on telephone work, lead conversion, things like that. Now, hiring them as a showing partner / ISA, you're going to set standards for them. It's important to have a 30, 60, and 90-day action plan. Here's the things you're going to master in the first 30 days. Here's the things you're going to master in the next 30 days and then the next. And at each check-in point, you're going to have a monthly review. By the way, if they're not showing they're the right talent at the end of 30 days, I would encourage you to be quick to fire, yet slow down in the hiring process, right? And you've heard it said so many times, quick to fire, slow to hire. So have your check-in points, set your standards, set your expectations with this individual. So since they're not going to show homes for you 8 hours a day, where they're not showing homes for you, they're on the phones, man. They're doing circle prospecting. They're calling for sale by owners, expired listings. They're doing open houses to generate leads on their own. Now let's talk about the compensation model for a showing partner. If you set the appointment with the buyer, you would pay them 15% of the gross commission income. If they set the appointment with the buyer, you pay them 25% of the GCI. So because you're going to be doing the lion's share of the work, you deserve the lion's share of the commission. Let's talk about the work. So you set an appointment with a buyer. You invite the showing partner to come into the initial counseling session. You're going to take the buyer through the initial counseling session. You're going to prepare the buyer agency agreement with the showing partner's help, meaning you're going to on the job train them how to prepare a buyer agency agreement. They're going to watch you present it to the buyer for signature. Once it's signed, then the showing partner is going to take the buyer out. They're going to show them home after home after home after home until they find the one they want to buy. Now, as a sidebar comment, the showing partner is not allowed to leave a showing appointment without setting their next showing appointment. They should always have an appointment on the books with your motivated buyers. You guys with me on that?
Yeah.
See, that keeps you out of the follow-up trap. Things don't slip through the cracks when you always have an appointment set with them, even if there's nothing to show them. So they get together a Saturday morning, they look at 3 properties together, none of which work. Well, hey, why don't we do this? Well, I don't have anything to show you right this second. Let's go ahead and carve out the time for next Saturday morning. And between now and then, I'm not going to leave any stone unturned. We're going to find at least 3 other properties to show you next Saturday. So let's carve out the time right now. and they set the next appointment. Now, once they find the property that the person wants to buy, they're going to give them back to you. You write and negotiate the offer. They're part and parcel of that whole process, by the way. So again, on the job training, and once they get 3 buyers under contract, then you promote them to agent on the team. So they then become agent / ISA. So their compensation model changes and their job description changes a little bit. Yet the challenge is a lot of times you just want to hire that agent to the team and start just throwing things at them. They're not prepared for the opportunity. And the worst thing we could do is promote somebody that's not prepared. So by forcing them to be the showing partner / ISA for their first 3 transactions, what you're doing is you're gifting them with phone skills, number one, because when they're not showing homes, they're on the phones, man. They're doing their lead generation, lead follow-up, and conversion. Now, 90% of their success in real estate is going to be determined by their ability to get on the phone, establish rapport, and close for appointments. Is that a fair statement, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's the phone work that's going to pay the bills. There's no doubt. Additionally, as an agent on the team, there's 3 areas that we must qualify every buyer, by the way. The first is the needs of the prospect. Does that property even exist? And the ability to qualify the needs of the prospect is directly determined by their knowledge of the market. So by forcing them to be a showing partner to go out and show all the homes for you, again, on the job training, they're gaining market knowledge. They'll understand, this block versus that block, or this neighborhood versus that neighborhood, or this school district versus that school district. They'll understand what's going on in the marketplace. So what you're doing is you're preparing them for success on the team by forcing them to be a showing partner / ISA first. Plus, you get to keep the lion's share of the revenue. So then you promote them to agent on the team. Now, at this point, their compensation model would change. And what I'd recommend is it's a 50-50 split on all team-generated leads. I would encourage you to up their split on self-generated leads first year to 60% to them, second year to 70%, and third year to 80%, and every year thereafter. Or maybe 75-25 third year and every thereafter. But it always stays 50-50 split on team-generated leads. How are we doing? Questions so far, guys? Talk to me.
Well, I think that makes total sense because they're bringing in the leads themselves and encourages them to bring in their own leads.
Undoubtedly. Now, depending on the type of business that you choose to build, and there's really 2 choices in my humble opinion. Number one is a prospecting-based business that's enhanced by marketing, which always produces a higher net yield, yet it's a lot more work, okay? Or you could be a marketing-based business that's enhanced by prospecting, which comes with a higher price tag, yet it's a lot less work, where your phone rings instead of making other people's ring. You with me? Mm-hmm. So let's talk about a prospecting-based business enhanced by marketing. If you go that direction, the next key hire would be what I call an OSA. Now, remember, ISA is Inside Sales Associate. Well, OSA stands for Outbound Sales Associate, meaning they're only doing outbound proactive outreach and lead generation prospecting. So they're calling for sale by owners, expired listings, circle prospecting. Heck, you could even have to call your sphere of influence if you choose to, right? And yet with this OSA, once they get, say, 5 signed listing contracts in that role, then they have an opportunity to be promoted to what we'll call lead OSA. Now, as lead OSA, their job description changes just ever so slightly. About 50% of their time is going to be invested in their own personal lead generation for the team. The other 50% of the time is going to be invested in recruiting and retention, and then education to the junior OSAs that they hire. Remember, the best part about their job is what? It's their job. So they are going to go out and they're going to start hiring people to join their division. And as a direct result, you give them an override on the commissions. Now let's go back 1 slide. Let's talk about the OSA role and the compensation model. Now, there's many ways you can compensate these people, yet in this role, I would encourage you to engage with a results-driven compensation model, meaning they don't get paid until something closes. So no salary, yet as a direct result of no salary, I would encourage you to offer up a 25% referral fee. You can even go as high as 30, even 35% and still be profitable if you choose to. Now, I'm a licensed realtor in the state of Colorado. And if I called any one of you and said, hey, listen, I just set an appointment for you Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. They've answered the 22 pre-listing qualifying questions, which I'm going to email to you in a moment. They're definitely going to list. This is a shoe in. Let me ask, would you pay me a 25% referral fee? What would you say, Chuck?
Absolutely.
Sure. So I kind of view it like that. It's a deal you would have never gotten in the first place. And it's a results-driven compensation model. So paying somebody 25%, it just makes sense. Now they've got bills to pay as well. So what I would do is I would kind of front load this a little bit. And in today's market, chances of your listing selling are pretty darn high. Right? Expiring listings are not what they were 6 years ago. That's for sure. So the chances of a listing selling is about 99%. So once they get a signed listing contract, meaning they set a listing appointment for you, you went out and did the listing presentation, got a signed contract, then I would give them maybe 50% of the 25% right up front. And then once the deal closes, I'd give them the other half of the 25% once it closes. You guys with me on that?
Mm-hmm.
And that allows them to very quickly, pay their bills, very easily pay their bills. And good OSAs, guys, are going to set a minimum of 4 listing appointments a week. Think about this. You've got somebody that you don't have to pay. They're going to set 4 listing appointments for you a week, and you're going to yield 75% gross commission income on every one of those deals. Why not? Because all they're going to do for 8 hours a day is smile and dial using your scripts, dialogues, and objection handlers. By the way, if you need some help with that sort of thing, I would encourage you to go to iconcoaching.com, go to the resources tab. We've got FSBO scripts, expired circle prospecting scripts, business networking scripts, all that stuff is there. So again, once the OSA has 5 signed listing contracts, then you'll promote them to lead OSA and they can begin building their division. Now with these junior OSAs, what I would encourage you to do is once they get 5 signed listing contracts, they have a choice. They can stay as an OSA or they can make a lateral move over to become the next showing partner / ISA for the agent that you've promoted. Now they're going to report directly to that agent, and that agent is going to train them and hold them accountable. And they're going to assist them just like you did for them on their first 3 closed transactions. As a direct result, showing partner gets 15% on anything that's generated by the team, and they'll get 25% on any self-generated leads. The agent, for managing the other agent, would get a 10% override, and then the team leader retains the rest. It's a pretty lucrative model. I think you would agree with that. Now, once that showing partner gets 3 under contract, they're promoted to agent / ISA on the team, and we promote the original agent to lead agent or director of sales. Making sense?
Yes.
So showing partner is 15%. Agent on team leads is 50-50 unless they leverage through the showing partner, and that's pass-through expense. So it's 35% to the agent, 15% to the showing partner. That leaves over 15%. Or 50%, excuse me, 50%. 10% goes to the lead agent, and the team leader retains 40% of the GCI. Making sense? Mm-hmm. Now, meanwhile, on the right side of the fence here, on the operations side, you promoted your transaction coordinator to operations manager. They replace themselves with transaction manager. And now at this point, with your OSA team focused on listing lead generation, you're going to need a listings manager. So we're going to go there next. Next key hires would be the EA, the executive assistant for you. They're going to babysit your email inbox. They're going to manage your schedule. They're going to pick up your dry cleaning and buy you lunch, okay? They're there to help you in all aspects of life. Then you can see how we're moving from OSA to now floating showing partner, promoting to agent / ISA. We still have our lead agent in place. And you've still only got 3 key direct reports and 1 executive assistant to help you. And before you know it, you are building the iconic organizational chart. It's now time to add a marketing coordinator. Now, this person is going to help start generating leads. This is where we start making the segue from a prospecting-based business enhanced by marketing to a marketing-based business enhanced by prospecting. And this is kind of an exciting time. It's also a little bit of a tenuous time. I call this phase of the evolution the awkward teenager, okay? It's like the torso is too long for the legs and the feet are too big for the body and the ears are too big for the face, and it's just a little uncoordinated. That's what it feels like. Yet throughout this phase, you're going to find a little bit of a dip in the profitability of your organization. Yet I'm here to tell you that there's light at the end of the tunnel, and that light at the end of the tunnel is going to be made up through volume. Okay, so now we then start building out what we would call a VP of sales model, where once an agent can attract 2 agents to join the team, and that agent closes at least 10 million in sales volume. Between the other 2 agents that they've recruited themselves to join the team, they hit 20 million in sales volume. They're promoted to then VP of sales, and then they start getting an override. And I've got all these compensation models broken down for everybody. If you're interested, we could get there. Yet the bottom line is, as we continue building this, you're going to find that before you know it, you're at the iconic organizational chart. I want to talk to you a little bit about retention, just real quick. And this is the last thing I'm going to mention, and then we can ask a few questions and then jump off here. Yet I want to talk to you about how to retain your 3 key direct reports. And I call this model the profits interest compensation model. Okay. Now, I want you to stay with me on this. It's a little bit complicated, yet what you're going to do is you're going to establish what I call the floor, meaning from 0 net income, and again, it's net income, to blank net income. And let's use round numbers. Let's say from 0 to 500,000 in net income after all commissions, all team commissions, all expenses, all referral fees, all company dollar, all of that. Let's say the floor is 500,000. You've got to net at least 500,000 before you get a bonus on this team. Now, any net dollar above 500,000, we're going to share, say, 20% of every net dollar above 500,000. So you can go build it as big as you want to. At this point, there's no ceiling to how big you can build this. Plus, I'm going to offer you vesting rights after 5 years. Meaning when you're with the team for 5 years, you're not fired for any stupid reason, or you don't quit. After 5 years, you're going to be vested in this 20% of every net dollar above 500,000. So let's use some simple examples. Let's say the first year, the net is 600,000. Okay, so you subtract the floor, which is 500,000. That brings the base for the net profits interest distribution down to 100,000. They get a bonus of 20% of the net above the floor. So you write them a check for 20 grand. Now, this is an annual distribution of net profit above the floor, where you do it 1 time per year. And I would encourage you to do it around April 15th of the subsequent year. Now, here's the thing. They must be employed with your organization at the time of distribution. You with me on this? So if they have a bad month in July and they say, well, I'm going to quit, I'm going to go join a different team, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that. If they quit, they walk away from their net profits interest distribution. So even if they have a bad month, they're going to stick it out. They're going to make it work because they want this bonus check. You guys with me? Yes?
Yes.
And by the way, if you distribute it on April 15th, they've already got 3.5 months of additional build up toward next year's profit share. So when they get their check, they're probably not going to say, okay, see you later, right? Because of the vesting rights after 5 years. So let's say year after year, it keeps going up, going up, going up. And after 5 years, they built it from 500,000 net profit to 1.5 million net profit. So you're writing them a check for 20% of the net dollar above the floor, which would be $200,000. So you write them a check for 200,000. Yet you get the first 500,000 and you get the next 800,000 and they get 200,000. Yet who built it? Talk to me.
They built it.
They built it. That's exactly right. By the way, are they happy? Heck yeah,
Ecstatic.
you got a $200,000 bonus. That feels really good, doesn't it? Are you happy?
Absolutely.
I'm sure you're happy because you didn't have to build it. So let's say 5 years go by. They say, you know what, Chuck, Doug, I'm burned out. I'm tired. By the way, I can live on 200,000 per year, I think. So I'm going to exercise my vesting rights. I'm going to leave you guys. I love you, but I'm going to leave, right? Well, they have to hire their replacement, number one. When they choose to leave, that puts a ceiling on their net profits interest distribution, and they must hire their next replacement. Now, vesting means that they're going to get this bonus for the rest of their life as long as your team is profitable, above 500,000. Now, the moment they quit, though, that put a ceiling on their net profits interest distribution to 1.5. So we go to the replacement and say, we're going to offer you the same deal. We're going to give you 20% of every net dollar above 1.5 million. Okay. Now let's say this replacement comes in and they begin to fail, it doesn't look like it's going to net 1.5 million this year. Looks like it's going to net around 800,000. What do you think their predecessor might do, knowing that they're not going to get the bonus they were expecting? Think about it. Do you think they might come back in, take the team back
Well,
over?
yeah.
Heck yeah, because now you're messing with my bonus, man. I'm expecting 200,000. It looks like it's going to be more like 60,000. This person's doing something wrong. So they're going to come back in. They're going to build it back up to 1.5 million. They could even fire that replacement because they're not vested yet, right?
Mhm.
Take it back over, build it up to at least 1.5 million and hire their next replacement. What it does for a team leader is it helps you from getting sucked back down in the weeds, right? It gives you that layer of insulation. And I hope that makes sense. Now, we do this on several different levels, like profit share would be another great example of how we can really leverage compensation appropriately as kind of a friendly weapon to get people to act like owners. So when we use this methodology, guys, number one, people act like owners. So they're forced to keep expenses as low as possible and net profit as high as possible. And that's what we want, right? Plus, we empower them to go out and build their respective divisions. When you get the right talent, all things become easy. There's mutually beneficial compensation models in place. We have profit share models. We have bonus structure models. There's 8 different ways that I've identified you can compensate people. And when you got the right mixture of that, then building a team becomes relatively easy. Where, in fact, I wanted to prove that I could build a successful and profitable real estate sales team here in Austin, Texas, by investing just 30 minutes per week. Now, we launched that endeavor about 10 months ago. It's already profitable. And all I do is coach these agents every week for 30 minutes. That's all I've done. So I've got my director of sales. They're focused on recruiting, retention. They're training the agents. And then I step in for a half hour every week. What are your biggest challenges? What are the objections you're hearing? And we work on scripting, dialogues, objection handlers, business planning, things like that. But it's entirely possible that you don't have to give your life away and build a very successful and powerful team within your market area. So questions, concerns, challenges. We got just a couple of minutes left.
Doug, go ahead.
I don't have any questions. I mean, that was so thorough and useful. I think that, people on this call that either have a team or are thinking of building a team, I think that is really beneficial. And there are a lot of takeaways there. And your information was on there as well, that if people have any follow-up or possibly want to bring you on as a coach for further info. No, thank you. I'm very, very impressed with that. That's the first time I've seen that particular presentation, and it definitely set in my mind. So thank you, Shon.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Doug. Of course. Chuck, Christopher, anything come to mind?
Chris, anything for you?
Not for me.
Okay.
Great presentation.
Fantastic.
So I think, I mean, I know some agents will look at this and go, wow, I mean, how far you went with it. And I didn't expect you to go this far with this. And I think it's amazing. It's so detailed and it's so simple, and adding the different layers all the way through. But, and I love the definition of success because you're right. That's whatever somebody wants. I think that is the best way to say that. But I was thinking back to the very beginning about, I think so many agents don't realize that we're just an employee, basically. We're just a kind of an order taker, unless we really create some way to sustain our business where we're either not having to show up or we show up little, but we're still getting paid, in a great way and what we're used to. And that's a true business, a sustainable business. And so I just want to say that, if anybody wants to collaborate with Doug and I, we do this all the time and have things like this and sessions and talk about it because it can be that way. And Doug and I realized this about 8 years ago, and really enjoy doing this. It's really, it's really funny because you said working with buyers. It's in this market, it's tough, but we're all in it for the long haul. I think we are, and I know that what I loved one time you said, when's the last time you went to a realtor's retirement party? It just doesn't happen. And so I think that's what we need to be working on. And also I love the 80-20 rule. I'm always reminded of that. So thank you for all of this. You really went much further than I thought you would. And there's so much good information, and I'm glad we recorded it so people can go back and watch it, and we'll send it out to everybody that subscribed to it.
Right on. Guys, there's so many free tools at iconcoaching.com. I just looked over at my slide and I realized it says iconcoachinre.com. That'll still work. Yet I negotiated the guys down to buy the iconcoaching.com about 6 months ago and stole it. In my opinion, they wanted like 115,000 for it. I got them down to like 8,000, finally got the domain. Yet, so iconcoaching.com, I'll get the slide deck fixed. Sorry about that. But yeah, I enjoyed being with you guys, and I just appreciate you letting me add value to your friends and your colleagues in real estate, and anything I can do. There's 2 free masterminds we do every single week. I just encourage you guys plug into that stuff, because the bottom line is this: your business, your production, your bank account, and your net worth, it's going to grow to the extent that you personally grow. So the more times you can plug into things like this, the higher your production is going to get. There's no doubt about that. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.